PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, a Star Wars podcast featuring PLD and Maddie Gunner. May the Force be with you, always.
Testing 1, 2. What's up, everybody? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Holy Snokes. I almost had a panic moment. I realized as I hit live that my mic was unplugged. My mic is finicky, so I was really struggling back here for a second. So if you heard me say testing, that's what that was. But I'm here without Maddie today. As you may have noticed, or last couple episodes, if you've been watching, we have kind of changed up our format here on Holy Snokes. Doesn't mean we're always going to be apart, but hopefully it's going to be a different way we can do things. Instead of doing the news and our topic of the week, we're just going to do a bi-weekly show. 1 week will be the news, 1 week will be a topic, usually speared by Maddie. We saw our last episode. Maddie did a great episode on Kurosawa and his connections to Star Wars. Really was happy to see him give him a chance to do something he's wanted to do for a long time, something that I would love to have done, but I didn't feel I had the right amount of knowledge to really go in deep with them. I hadn't watched the Kurosawa films in a while. I watched them when I was much younger, so I didn't want to just sit here and be a lump on a log. So I let him take care of that solo. And Maddie doesn't really love talking about the news. He's not a news guy, so ends up being we have the two of us together. We'll put forth these episodes. So the news episodes will most likely be myself alone here. By myself, it's okay. I can handle it. And also the other week will be whatever the big topic that we want to talk about, thematically related or whatnot. I will be joining Maddie for most of those, but there might be some times where Maddie does some solo shows as well. But it's a different way to do things. It's a way to help us try to be a little different than we had been, a little bit break the norm of kind of like the everyday, what we have been doing for weeks and weeks and weeks. We will be doing our normal we'll be doing our normal reviews and things when the shows come out. So when the show comes out, we'll be back every week doing our normal shtick with that. But during the downtime, during the in-between time, we're just going to do this a little bit differently. Hopefully you like it. Hopefully you appreciate it. And so let's get to it. This week is the news week, and I have not been in the news. We have not talked about the news since about a month ago, so we definitely have some stuff built up since then. Obviously, you've seen the thumbnail, you've seen the title. We are talking about mostly the San Diego Comic-Con panels that happened yesterday and the Emmys nominations. Now, usually we are on Thursdays, and that's not going to change. I should mention that up front as well. This Thursday was my week to do the Holy Snooks news, but I also had a prior engagement with my son. We went to see the Fantastic Four in the theaters. What a great movie that was. It's been a great month for comic book movies. Superman was phenomenal. Fantastic Four was phenomenal. A great year for comic book movies, really. I mean, Thunderbolts was phenomenal as well. And I liked Captain America Brave New World more than most. Getting Harrison Ford as the Red Hulk was good enough for me. Although I guess your miles may vary on that one. I understand. But still, overall, pretty solid run. But so when I came up, I decided I was going to do Holy Snooks solo, but I figured I could do it Thursday. I could just push it back a day. But then I was like, well, Friday is the San Diego Comic-Con Lucasfilm Publishing Panels and Random House World Publishing Panels. So why do it then? Either at this point, might as well just save the extra day so we can talk about that as well. Anything that was revealed during those days. So I figured that's why Saturday Live, I'll hit it. And if you're here to join me, great. If not, you're watching this on an afterplay or replay, also great. But let's get going. We'll tee off with some news that happened a couple weeks ago prior, and we'll work our way down to the Comic-Con. First up, Ahsoka Season 2 news. Ivana Sanko promises a bigger and more in-depth journey. Ivana Sanko was doing some press screenings or press touring for Megan 2, and she was asked, of course, about Ahsoka Season 2, which has started filming now. We have gotten a few bits and bobs, and one of them we'll show you later on in the episode here. But she couldn't speak much on it, which makes sense. This is the kind of article that Maddie decided this is why he doesn't want to talk about the news, because there's not a lot of news in this statement, but it's still fun to hear how they react. To me, it's still fun to hear how the actors, creators react to questions about that. Sometimes what they don't say can be just as important as what they do say. So her response to that was, there's absolutely nothing I can speak on at the moment. I wish I could share something, at least, because it's such an exciting time for us to be back together. We're currently in the middle of filming it. All I can say is that it's bigger and even more in-depth, and I'm really excited for people to see it. It means the world. I had a wonderful stunt team and a personal trainer as well, who are very grounded people and honestly work a lot with energy and being present in your own body. We did quite a bit, Krav Maga and different styles of fighting. We also did Tai Chi and studied the ability to move your energy from one place to another in order to remain still. So again, not much there, but it does get me excited. It just gets me excited that we are back filming something. Obviously, Andor was such a great success all over the world, as we're going to get to when it comes to Emmy nominations as well. But as always with Star Wars, it's like, okay, great. Now what's next? Obviously, you have Mandalorian and Grogu coming up film-wise next year, which I'm looking forward to as well. Hopefully, we're going to get a trailer, a teaser, I would say, before too long. I think Star Wars being back in the theaters might mean we get a little bit of a teaser much earlier than we usually would. Force Awakens got maybe about a year early, so it makes sense to get one, maybe a little earlier than normal. But this is also the next live action things we're getting as far as TV series goes. That's definitely the next live action TV series we're getting on Disney Plus, and I'm excited about Ahsoka season 2. I think Ahsoka season 2 was kind of overhated by some. I know some people had some issues, and I'm not decrying that it didn't have some issues. There's definitely some flaws in there, but overall, I think it was a better show than people give it credit for. And I'm really excited to see what we do with season 2. Now the pieces are kind of in place for this dual set of storytelling. Of course, we have Ahsoka and Sabine, as well as Shinhan, and obviously the Balin Skull on the One World on Peridia, One Galaxy. And then, of course, we have Ezra reuniting with Hera, and hopefully Zeb and Chopper are over on our normal galaxy far, far away to face up against Thrawn. So I think we've got a lot of stuff coming up, and I'm excited to see where we go from there. Hayden Christensen coming back as well. I'm always up for more Anakin at this point. Give me more Anakin. I'm always up for more Anakin. So that is the first bit of news there. Ivana Sakno, Ivana, I have a hard time with her name, Ivana Sakno from Ahsoka Season 2. Hopefully I'll leave some comments or let me know in the chat what you think about that. Are you excited about Ahsoka Season 2? Are you not excited about Ahsoka Season 2? What do you think? All right, next up, another comments that were, interesting, I thought. Mark Hamill opening up on his rationale for Luke's mental state in The Last Jedi and praises Rian Johnson. Let me take you back to the era of The Last Jedi. Before it came out, Mark Hamill famously had quotes where he basically said he disagreed with Rian Johnson on his on his visualization of where Luke was after all his time and what Luke's mindset was. Famously said that he thought Luke would have doubled down and not gone into hiding, even though that was the original intent from George Lucas even as well. Of course, the people took those comments and ran with it. That Mark Hamill hated The Last Jedi, that hated Rian Johnson, and it couldn't be further from the truth. It's okay that an actor could disagree with necessarily something that wasn't presented on page, and he just had a hard time with it, but he did his best job to go with it. But he definitely did not at all hate Rian Johnson. That's as far as from the truth. And he wanted to clarify. He stated, "Here's the thing, and I'd love to clear this up. Rian Johnson is one of the most gifted directors I've ever worked with. He's amiable. He's fun on set. He's smart. He made a great movie. I think the staging, the standoff between Kylo Ren, Adam Driver, and I at the end is so well staged. Foreshadowing that I'm not really there. Adam wipes the snow away, and you see the red planet beneath. I wipe the snow, and it's just snow. It's so subtle. I love Knives Out and Brick and Looper. He's one of my favorite directors. The key point of contention was the reason behind Luke's decision to become a suicidal hermit. He talked about this as well. I kept saying to Rian that would just make Luke double down, and he said, well, your class of the Jedi Academy were wiped out. I said, Rian, I saw entire planets wiped out. If anything, Luke doubles down or hardens his resolve in the face of adversity. So that's all. He explained the reason behind his disagreement was that the events detailed in the flashback weren't enough in his mind for Luke to be in the mental state he was in during the first 2 installments of the sequel trilogy. To justify his own story, his performance, Hamill asked if he could create his own backstory for Luke and created a much darker event in his mind than what was shown on screen. I thought, what could make someone give up devotion to what is basically a religious entity, to give up being a Jedi, well, the love of a woman? So he falls in love with a woman. He gives up being a Jedi. They have a high child together. At some point, the child, as a toddler, picks up an unattended lightsaber, pushes a button, and is killed instantly. Wife is so full of grief, she kills herself. I thought that would be because I heard these horrible stories about these children who find unattended guns and wind up dead. It resonated with me so deeply. While Hamill used this idea to inform his performance, director Rian Johnson elected to show Luke's backstory as purely linked to the events of the Jedi Temple. While the actor didn't agree this was enough to explain Luke's story, he reiterated his respect for the director and lamented that his comments may have given some fans the idea that he dislikes Johnson. Quote, That said, and I told Ryan this, despite the fact that I disagree with her choices for Luke, I'm going to do everything within my power to make her screenplay work as best as I can. The only unfortunate thing about that is I've heard comments from fans who think I somehow dislike Rian Johnson, and nothing can be further from the truth. Ooh. Well, what do you think about that, guys? I don't know. What do you think about that, Luke's backstory in Mark Hamill's mind? I'm kind of glad it didn't show that. I think that would have been a little bit too much for the movie, what they're trying to go for as far as Rey's story and everything else goes. Luke is an important piece to that story, but I think that might have been a little bit too far, too dark. I mean, I know some people actually predicted that at the end of Force Awakens. They saw and Luke threw the lightsaber over the shoulder, and they had some swirling camera shot as they were watching as we faded away. They showed some kind of rock there, and it looked like a gravestone. So people thought that was maybe Mara Jade, the famous Mara Jade, was dead, and that's why Luke had gone away in his head. I don't know. I guess I'd have to see how it actually was depicted. It definitely would have been some real life alliterations there, talking about, like you mentioned, killed kids finding unattended guns and killing themselves that way. We've seen that throughout the world today. So having that is an interesting connection to the real world in a way. And sometimes, Star Wars has these connections to the real world, whether you think they do or not. So I don't know. It would have been interesting. But I guess I can't say I'm glad they didn't have it, because I'd have to see how it developed and how it showed. But the most important thing about this is Mark Hamill said he made a great movie. So he does not hate The Last Jedi. He does not hate Rian Johnson. So a lot of that has been overblown by people who have their own agendas, I guess. And that's, that's the way of the world nowadays, unfortunately. But what do you think? You can leave me a comment on that. What do you think about Mark Hamill's backstory? Would you like to have seen it? Do you think it was too far? Do you think Mark's just covered himself now? Who knows? Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll get back to you. Next up, another more Ahsoka Season 2 news were popped. 4 directors were revealed, and that was exciting. It's always good to hear who's going to be coming back to directing live-action TV series, newcomers and returnings alike. New agency had listed that 4 of the directors for Ahsoka Season 2 included regular Star Wars Disney Plus directors Dave Filoni, that's the big shocker, and Bryce Dallas Howard, who has not done an Ahsoka episode yet. So that is very big news. Bryce Dallas Howard has been a fan favorite since she did her Mandalorian episode. She's made a couple of different episodes throughout the Star Wars galaxy far, far away, including Skeleton Crew. And getting her a chance on the Ahsoka set, that's an awesome idea, because she has definitely been a standout director for the Disney Plus shows. Yeah, all of her episodes are usually the highest regarded of whatever season they are in. I don't think she's done a bad episode yet. So I'm looking forward to seeing what she can do with Ahsoka and with Ezra and company as well. That's pretty exciting. Other listed were Jennifer Getzinger and Anders Engstrom. Those are the other 2 directors that have been announced at this point. Engstrom, I believe, is a Disney Plus vet. Yes, he directed Disney Plus's Percy Jackson Olympians and 17 episodes of Apple TV's Plus's C, which is either with her either on his own or with a the co-director. I'm sorry, I take that back. That's Engstrom. Engstrom directed 3 episodes of Percy Jackson the Olympians and then Apple TV Plus's C, and this is his first time in the newer Star Wars atmosphere as well. That's awesome. I love getting new directors and new things. I like the Percy Jackson series, so that should be good. I haven't seen C, so I can't talk much about that. Jennifer Getzinger did direct to the series before. Previously, she had directed Part 6, Far, Far Away, so making her return to Ahsoka as well. So interesting to see where that's going to go. We don't know at this point whether these are the only directors of the season. Usually there's 8 episodes. At this point, I'm betting Filoni is directing at least Filoni is directing more than one. Filoni's probably directing the first and the last. That's what he usually does. Perhaps Howard is directing more than one as well. So perhaps there are more announcements to be made or more leaks to be discovered. Or this is it. That could be an interesting way to do it. We'll have to see. Hopefully that comes soon. What do you think, though? Are you excited about this news? Are you excited mostly about Bryce Dallas Howard getting a shot at the Ahsoka storyline? Let me know in the comments, like I said. All right, next up, more Last Jedi. I could have put these together, I guess, but I got to do more of these timeline orders when the news came out in the last month. That's why it's kind of going back and forth. But Rian Johnson was talking about The Last Jedi, and he also talked about Rise of Skywalker and his famed future Star Wars trilogy. That is kind of still up in the air. It seems like more and more it's not going to happen, as many people predicted. But let's get into the quotes and we can talk about that after that. Johnson has talked first about the Holdo maneuver, which is a very famous part of The Last Jedi, obviously. He stated, "It was always in my head when Han tells Luke that without the right calculations, they could fly into a star and that you're head on your trip real quick, wouldn't it?" I thought, well, if that's physically possible, what would that look like? It seemed like something that was low-hanging fruit to me in a way, but I knew that if we were going to use it, we'd have to use it in a very big way. This can't be a casual thing that happens this week. We should build the whole Return of the Jedi-esque 3 plot lines converging thing around this moment, which is interesting. I think that's definitely an interesting. I haven't heard him talk about it too much before, but that definitely makes sense. It's a wonderful moment. I know some people have some issues with it in terms of like, well, why don't people do that all the time? Well, it's because it's a fictional universe and these things happen like this. Sometimes you come up with new ideas, and I think it's kind of cool. I thought it was a very standout moment. So I think he succeeded with what he wanted to do. More importantly, or more news importantly wise, something that I'm very interested to hear about. I don't know if you are, but the interviewer brought up The Rise of Skywalker, which from his point of view sort of undermined the moment from Johnson's movie, along with other key points, like Rey being a nobody. Johnson explained how he was not disappointed in the least when watching the movie. Now, before I get to the quote, yes, of course, I don't think he was ever going to talk bad about the movie. So, like, I understand that that's the argument. Well, he's not going to talk shit about the movie. He still likes Kathy, still likes Star Wars. He's not going to talk shit about his own fellow directors, J.J. Abrams, etc. But you know what? I can only take things as they're given to me. So I'm going to take this at least somewhat at face value, understanding that there might be more that's left unsaid. But what he said was pretty straightforward. Because when I saw the movie, I had a great time watching it. Again, this is all about point of view. I never approached this as like a territory I'm carving out for my thing. My perspective, JJ did the same thing with the third that I did with the second. Which is not digging it up and undoing, just telling the story the way that was most compelling going forward. That means not just validating what came before, but recontextualizing it and evolving and changing the story as it moves forward. I didn't feel resentful in some way, but you're talking about a movie made by my friends with my friends in it. I sit down to watch a movie and it's a Star Wars movie. It's all stuff I love. I'm not the one to come to you for a hard-hitting critique. You can go to YouTube for that. I did like that last bit. I thought that was kind of a funny, maybe poke at the bear to some of the people who have gotten on him over the years. All right, it continues on from that. Never feels good to have anybody coming after you on the internet, especially coming after you saying things that I think I very much do not agree with about a thing I made and put a lot of heart and soul into. But at the same time, having grown up a Star Wars fan ultimately lets me contextualize it and feel at peace with it in many different ways. Just remembering going back on one level to arguing on the playground about Star Wars as a kid. And I was in college when the prequels came out. My friends and I were prequel hate central. Everyone was ruthless at that time. And of course, now the prequels are embraced. I'm not saying that as a facile, oh, things will flip around in 20 years, you'll see. It's more this push and pull and this hatred and stuff that seems new. This is all part of being a Star Wars fan. Culture war garbage aside, I think that essential part of it is a healthy part. Nothing really happened with it. And then, okay. So that's the statements on The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. And I like what he's saying there. I think he's smart to just say basically, hey, I enjoyed the film. It didn't. I agree with him. I still don't get the idea that JJ undid everything. He just because he didn't change some things, it just didn't flow the way you expected it to or you thought it would. Like the fact that Rey was a nobody and wasn't a nobody. Our villain tells her she's a nobody. And our villain tells things all the time, and we are always supposed to believe that the villain is a reliable narrator. I don't think that's necessarily undoing what they said. That's undoing what a character said. That's just revealing that Kylo lied in an attempt to manipulate her, which is something he was shown to be doing the entire movie. He was trying to manipulate her into joining him. So it makes a lot of sense in the world that he would be the one, he'd be lying about that. Or perhaps he didn't even know. We don't even know at this point. So I don't think that was an undoing of anything. I think there's a lot of things that get overblown about how, I get the flaws that The Rise of Skywalker had. If you want to tell me it's a video game movie, it's a level movie, and it goes from A to B to C without like whatever much depth for you, that's fine. If you don't like that Rey isn't not a nobody, that's an argument I've always thought I was not on the side of. I always thought that if you have that viewpoint, that's fine. I get everybody has their own viewpoint. I always thought that Rey should be somebody because while I love the idea of a Jedi coming from nowhere or a hero coming from nowhere and not needing in blood to be like to be the savior or the whatever the protagonist, I like that. But I think I like that more as not part of the Skywalker saga. The Skywalker saga has always been about the Skywalkers. This is not veering into the era of why is Rey a Skywalker. I'm always going to say Rey is a Skywalker. Maybe it's because I'm adopted, so I mean that helps my viewpoint on this. But to me, I think it was a very strong statement for her to make. Very strong statement. I was a Palpatine. I am choosing to reject that heritage, and I'm choosing to be a Skywalker, because Star Wars is all about the choices we make. The choices we make, and the choice that she made was to become a Skywalker and to give that name, that name, which is now the symbolizing the hope from Luke and from Leia, and even from Anakin back in the day, considering we don't know how much the government know. I mean, I know there's bloodlines. It's revealed that Leia is his daughter, and all that stuff. But Skywalker, the name Skywalker itself, is a name of hope. So she's choosing hope. She's choosing the right thing. So to me, that's the way it should be. I like that aspect. Your mouth may vary. I know I'm in the minority. I hear it all the time, but I'm in the minority in a lot of things. I tend to like things more than other people, and I'm not going to defend that, or I'm not going to make justifications for it. Because honestly, if you like something, I'm happy to like something. Better for me. But I think it's interesting what he says about that. And I do interesting thing that he says about hating the prequels and et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a good point. I am curious to see where we are 20 years from now, or 10 to 15 more years from now, where the sequels will be held in the Star Wars fandom. But I guess we'll find out. Now, the big news part from this was his comments on his trilogy back in the day. This is not a story which I think really, really got overblown. This is something that when I read the quote, I said, that sounds about what I thought. But let me read the quotes now, and then we'll have the conversation on it. Nothing really happened with the other trilogy. We had a great time working together, and they said, let's keep doing it. I said, great. I would kick ideas around with Kathleen Kennedy. The short version is Knives Out happened. I went off and made Knives Out and was off to the races busy making murder mysteries. Sort of thing, if down the line there's an opportunity to do stuff or do something else in Star Wars, I would be thrilled. But right now, I'm just doing my own stuff and pretty happy. He then added there was never any outline or treatment or anything, whether it was because of PR or because there was an actual intention of doing it someday. But Lucasfilm and Johnson were saying for years that this was one of those projects that were in the works of the company and that they would get around to it at some point. Now, almost 8 years after it was announced, all the parties seem to have moved on. So here's the thing. People have been lambasting this for a long time. Oh, it's never going to happen. He shouldn't get it. This was announced before, I guess even before the movie came out, they announced that they were going to do a trilogy. Here's what happened. I think I'll translate a little bit to see maybe this makes more sense to everybody. And if it does, hopefully you see things the way I see them. Or if not, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat. Ryan did this film, Last Jedi, and from all accounts, it was a very happy set. Everybody's very happy with it. Besides Mark Hamill's disagreement about his motivations. Beyond that, Kathleen Kennedy loved working with Rian Johnson. Everybody said they loved working with Rian Johnson. He was an amiable director, a lovely director, did everything he needed to do, got everything done on time, got everything done on budget, and told the story that he wanted to tell. Everybody seemed to have a great time. So much for that Kathleen Kennedy probably was like, hey, you know what? I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed this working relationship. We should do this again. I have the power as Lucasfilm's head honcho. Why don't we give you an entire trilogy on your own? Because you know what? Maybe that's what should have happened. Instead of doing director, we should give someone a full director a 3-episode arc. Give you a 3-episode trilogy arc, just like the old days. Give that to you, Ryan. What do you think? And Ryan's like, hey, you know what? That sounds awesome. I'll kick around some ideas. I have some ideas floating around there. Let's talk about that. You know what? Right now we're concentrating on this, though. I'm concentrating on getting Last Jedi out, and then we'll see what happens in the future. We'll definitely revisit these talks at some point. Time over time, he got Knives Out. He started doing stuff. He got busy. Kathleen Kennedy and him don't talk as much. I think they ask questions. It's always in the back of his head. Yeah, I'm going to get to that someday. I'm doing this right now. I'm going to get back to that. I love the idea of doing it. I think that was always the way. And that's never been anything but the way. I mean, you can argue that Kathleen Kennedy did announce it, and maybe she shouldn't have announced it like the way she did. But I don't think it was ever any kind of dropping the ball. It was just kind of like she was excited about it. She wanted it to happen. It was always a case at that time. It was a case of not if, but when. And now, as time has gone on, and Kathleen Kennedy is perhaps preparing to leave, we know those rumors are out there, and she's kind of mentioned that the succession plans are getting in place, depending on when that happens. Rian Johnson has struck it big with Knives Out. He's enjoying doing those series. So it got to the point where it's like, oh, well, became more from a when to an if. And now that if Kathleen Kennedy does leave, that's Ryan's key point there. It's a new regime on Lucasfilm, so of course it's a new place. Disney might not want to revisit Rian Johnson because of the divisiveness of The Last Jedi. I think it's a mistake. I think Rian Johnson's a phenomenal filmmaker. I argued it then. I'll argue it now that all the arguments I've heard about Rian Johnson are with regard to the OT characters and the connections, etc. So I think if you take that out, everybody said it's a beautifully looking film, everything else. I think if you give him his own new trilogy that's completely separate from the Skywalker saga, a different part of the galaxy, whatever, I think you take out all of that baggage and you let him cook. I think that would be a great film, or a great trilogy potentially. So will it ever happen? I guess probably not at this point. Probably not. Seems like they've all moved on. But Ryan still said he would like to do it someday if things happen to work out. So who knows? But I don't think that ever, like, the narrative in the clickbaiting of the news is like, oh, they announced it, they dropped the ball, and it's not happening. Well, okay. I think it was just more a case of, one, a little overzealous. I love working with you. Let's get this done. And it just kind of slowly they worked apart from it. Nothing seditious, nothing happened. It's just the way of the world. So there, I was happy to hear. I was happy to hear him clarify that. I think it pretty much clarified exactly or confirms what I have believed in the entire process. So your miles may vary. What do you think about it? Again, leave those comments. Let me know. All right, next up, we got Andor Season 2 receiving 14 Primetime Emmy nominations, including Outstanding Drama Series. Let's talk about that. This is the positive side of things first. Complete list of Andor Emmys: Outstanding Drama Series, Outstanding Guest Actor in Forrest Whitaker, Outside Directing for Janice Metz, directing Who Are You, Outstanding Writing by Dan Gilroy for Welcome to the Rebellion, Outstanding Character Voiceover Performance from Robot Extraordinaire, Droid Extraordinaire Alan Tudyk, Outstanding Production Design for Who Are You, Outstanding Cinematography for Harvest, Outstanding Fantasy Sci-Fi Costumes for Harvest for Michael Wilkinson, Outstanding Picture Editing for Who Are You, Outstanding Musical Composition for Who Are You, Outstanding Original Music and Lyrics for We Are the Gore for Who Are You, Outstanding Sound Editing for Who Are You, Outstanding Sound Mixing for Who Are You, and Outstanding Special Visual Effects. Oh, I'd also like to say, additionally, The Acolyte is also an Emmy-nominated series for all the haters out there. Outstanding Sound Editing for the Episode 5 Night, the Big Stranger reveal episode. So The Acolyte also was nominated. So that's amazing that we got all these nominations. Obviously, Disney pushed hard for Andor to get these award nominations, and they were rewarded. Now, quite frankly, I think I shouldn't say the big awards, but I feel like that's the narrative. The bigger awards, like the directing, the acting, and the overall series. It's not to say that cinematography, editing, also extremely important. And I don't think this. I think most of our viewers and most of Star Wars fans understand that those are extremely important as well. They really are all on the same level of each other. However, the narrative in the media, the narrative as it is that for the Emmy boards and these award givers, that those are like the sci-fi fantasy places, whereas the actor and director, those are the big ones. So they'll get the lower, quote unquote, lower awards, while they're going to miss out on the bigger awards. But the fact that they get nominated for the quote unquote bigger awards is awesome. If they got Outstanding Drama Series, awesome. Forrest Whitaker getting a nomination, awesome. Directing, writing, character, all those, awesome. Now there's the flip side. We do have a large grouping of people, a large grouping of very worthy nominations. However, the fact that Diego Luna, Stellan Skarsgård, Rashard Jonah, my personal favorite, Genevieve O'Reilly, none of these people got nominated for their acting performances, and yet White Lotus got like everybody who's in the cast. That's the problem I have. Like, that we could take out a White Lotus or two or something like that and put in one of these performances that deserve it for nothing else. So, like, even if they don't win, I don't expect them to win, because that's just not going to happen for sci-fi, for Star Wars. There's still that kind of ceiling that's there for award boards and everything. But getting them the nomination would have been a win for them. They absolutely deserved it. They put their heart and soul into it. Tony Gilroy specifically came out and had a nice, interesting view on it that I try and take to heart. He said, there's a lot of performances that I wish were recognized. Diego Luna and Genevieve O'Reilly, there are a dozen performances. These aren't only great moment-to-moment performances. These are epic, long-term character studies that they've done over 24 episodes. I think the ultimate victory is that these performances will be celebrated and discussed for years to come. I feel confident about that. And maybe that's the true thing. Maybe over the course of the next couple of years, we'll come back to these performances and they'll be known. And hopefully, I'm hoping that it's gotten enough notice in the press, even if they don't get the award or even a nomination, how well people like their performances. Genevieve O'Reilly get bigger performances or get more work from this. Diego Luna getting more work from this. That's the important thing. These performers deserve something for what they gave us. They were wonderfully cast, wonderfully performed. Just sad. I'm just sad that they didn't get their nomination. Again, I would have understood that they didn't win, but I feel like I think we could have gotten one or two of them. Even not all of them. I get they couldn't. I see. The thing is, I don't like it when the whole cast gets nominated. Like, wait, Lotus, too many for me. Two people having to be weird and having fun. I get it's a good water cooler series. Everything else, I've never watched it, so I can't argue who would be. I just think like so many people from one show just kind of like dilutes it. You should be able to celebrate a few more stories. So, give me Genevieve O'Reilly, please. Give me Diego Luna. But it is what it is. But either way, I do want to celebrate the positive. I'm excited to see what goes down. I can imagine what it would feel like if something big won. If something from Star Wars won an Emmy, like if Andor won drama series, I don't think it's going to happen. That would be an amazing shot in the arm. That would be amazing, like validation for Star Wars fans. Imagine what that would do for the brand. I think that'd be a wonderful thing overall, getting people to come, check it out. People who might be like, you know what, it's Star Wars. There's still people out there. Tony Gilroy talks about it all the time, how like he'd go up to people and go, yeah, but I'm talking about like, Michael Clayton or something. And he's like, and Tony Gilroy would have to be like, well, yes, but you're seeing Andor because that's the most important thing I've ever done. They're like, yeah, but it's Star Wars, pew pew. Got to get through those people's heads that this is more than just pew pew. And not that there's anything wrong with pew pew. Very sad. But I think that should also be clarified. I got to go back and forth on this. I love that we get Andor and Skeleton Crew, the same universe. I love that. Mandalorian, same universe. Love it. Absolutely love it. Young Jedi Adventures, same universe. Absolutely love it. But either way, I'm excited to get something. Hopefully, we can get a big win from somebody. I think there is hope for a potential for a directing or writing potential. That's another one that's like almost like if it was in the tier of the bigger writing, bigger awards, that's like the second tier now. So it'll be a big win. I don't hold out much hope for drama series or for Forrest, unfortunately, but we'll have to see. We shall see. So let me know what you think about the Emmys and whether you're celebrating it or are you decrying it or are you somewhere in the middle like I am. We'll find out hopefully when they win, but hopefully when something wins, we'll get back to you and we'll talk about it again, I'm sure. Also, one last bit about Tony Gilroy during that talk about Emmy noms and everything else. He did have a comment. They had a question fan. Finally, one question fans have been dying to know since Andor Season 2 ended is whether or not Tony Gilroy would ever come back to do another Star Wars project. Previously, Gilroy had emphasized his desire to do something different and spending most of the last decade working on Andor. This time, his answer was a little more hopeful. Said, I'm prepping a movie now to shoot in LA next year. It's not on the menu right now. I'll never say never. Which seems to me that he's softening, given some time away, given the fact he got his next project, he can do his next project. Maybe it feels like the longer time goes on, the more he like. And I think that Kathleen Kennedy should strike while the iron's hot and say, yes, give him a movie. Give him a movie to do because that'd be something that's less stressful than a 5-year or most of a decade plan he did on Andor. Give him a movie to do so he can kind of dip his toes back in, and I think we can have something wonderful. So that's my thoughts on it. Your miles may vary. All right, let's get to San Diego Comic-Con. Star Wars kind of had a big presence without having a presence as far as films or TV shows go, quite honestly. But they did have a lot of little panels, all are like publishing panels we'll talk about mostly. There's some Hasbro panels. We have the panel tomorrow which I'm not going to cover obviously now, but George Lucas is going to be there, and that's going to be Star Wars related, obviously, although the panel is set for the Lucasfilm Museum of Narrative Art. That's what he's pushing. Obviously, Lucas has struggled to get this thing going for years, trying to do it in San Francisco, trying to do it in Chicago, and now doing it, I believe, in LA or Anaheim. And he's basically doing this to generate interest because it's a lot of money. Even for George Lucas, it was a lot of money. And he's got to get people interested so it doesn't fail. I think it's a phenomenal idea. I would love to visit this. I'm hoping to visit this when it opens. Perhaps if it opens the same time as Star Wars Celebration during that, I go during that time in Anaheim if I get to go to that. I'm very, very, very excited about it. It's George Lucas. It's Doug Chiang, Guillermo del Toro are all on the panel. It's moderated by Queen Latifah. Interesting choice. But either way, it's wonderful having George come to Comic-Con for the first time. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Star Wars stories as well, but I'm actually very interested to see what the Lucas Museum is going to look like, what they're going to show us from that, and what the idea and concept is. Either way, I can't wait for it to happen because I'm excited for it. So, all right. The other news we got, we'll talk about the publishing panels mostly. We did get 2 images from upcoming Star Wars projects. I'll put the first one up there. This is the first still from Shadow Lord, the Darth Maul animated, or the Maul animated series that's coming out, I believe, early 2026. I said 2026. I'm guessing early on. My guess is that this comes out in the first part of the year. Then we'll get Mando and Grogu, and then Ahsoka will be in the fall. That's my prediction on that. It's Darth Maul. It's got a double-sided lightsaber. It looks great. I don't know. I mean, I love these little stills. It just gets me excited that we're getting closer and closer to it. That's why I look at it. I'm very excited about this show. I know my co-host Matty would be here if this is the part. He would love to be here to talk about this because that's his boy, obviously. I like the idea behind the show. As part of me, obviously, I've said it before. I do kind of wish we would get away from this era a little bit animated. We've told a lot of stories in this animated, and I love this era. So don't get me wrong, but I would have preferred like an animated, like post Return of the Jedi, Luke, Han, and Leia anthology, like the Clone Wars, something like that, and then Luke and the Jedi Order, that kind of thing. Love that. I would love a High Republic animated series. Think that'd be kind of cool to get into at this point. But once I get past that initial, I can't even say disappointment. When I get past that initial, my initial desires, this is a fun one to tell because this can touch on so many different levels. We get a dark side storyline, like from a villain point of view, which he's not going to. I don't think they're going to soften him at all. They'll just give you a little bit more vulnerability to him, but like he'll still be making his decisions as he makes them. But we get to touch on the underworld. We could touch on the clone story with this. We could touch on a lot of different areas. And so I'm excited to see where they go with it. There's a lot of different people he could connect with, some storylines that can connect together. We can get some more. We got some more stuff to talk about with the path, with the Clone Rebellion, with how Maul got to Malachor when we see him on Rebels. There's a lot of cool stuff to dive into. So I think it's a great, if we're going to do it more in this storyline, this is a good way to allow for a lot of different stories to connect. It's kind of funny in a way. I'm glad Matt is not here only because he'd probably slam me for this. I'm actually more interested in the surroundings of Maul rather than Maul's story itself. I know we're going to get good things from Maul, but I'm more intrigued to see what else we're going to touch on. Where is he going to connect to? As we're going to connect a lot more than just Maul from point A to point B. But either way, I'm excited. The second image, this wasn't called a still, so I'm not sure if it's a still or just an image, but for Ahsoka Season 2, here is our Ezra Bridger, clean shaven now. Little scar there. Definitely has those contacts on to make those baby blues even brighter. I love how he looks. I think he looks even more like Ezra than he did, obviously, in Season 1. This is him returning to Ezra Bridger form with Hera and now the Rebel Alliance, it looks like. I am excited to see this more and more. This actually got me pretty hyped up for Ahsoka, so I can't wait to see where this goes for sure. Great shot of him and Ginny, and yeah, I'm very excited about it. So, all right, let's move on now to the rest of the publishing panel. Some interesting things we're talking about. We got a few announcements. Overall, I can never say I'm disappointed. There's a couple things I would hoping to get. I kind of knew this wasn't going to happen, but with the ending of the High Republic, I'm always like, what's next? More. And I wanted to know if there was going to be another big multimedia style initiative like the High Republic and or something more connected like that. We didn't get anything like that. All the announcements were more standalone type stuff, which is fine because I get to do some more stories and them. I still like the stories we're getting. I love those big overall arcs. Lets the books and the young adult novels and the comics that they're intertwined, lets them tell this really epic storyline that we haven't touched on as far as everything else goes. So nothing there, unfortunately, but we are talking about the end of the High Republic and everything else. So let's talk about what came out. Had some great reveals. High Republic announced, or didn't announce, I shouldn't say they announced, but one of the biggest things they talked about coming soon, and is big to this podcast, is the finale of High Republic's Phase 3. Trials of the Jedi came out, and that is like kind of like the big finale per se, but there is this kind of like a couple of things that had to like trickle out afterwards. Obviously, the High Republic Adventures just finished. That was finishing up the Battle of Ariadu, and now the High Republic, the finale, is coming up on July 30th from Marvel, written by Kevin Scott. All roads lead back to Dalna. And I think this is kind of like the epilogue. This is like the final point. We are getting supposedly the story of why Keeve Trennis is among the lost. So I think that's kind of like what the big focus will be on. I can't wait to finish it up. I've really enjoyed the High Republic a lot. As someone who loved Phase 1, fell out of it a little bit during Phase 2, came back with a vengeance in Phase 3. I'm actually rereading the entire thing now from the beginning, actually going back to Phase 2 and reading Phase 2 again. And that good news is actually liking Phase 2 more the second time through. I guess maybe because I have the finale. I think I was impatient with what Phase 2 was doing. I wanted to get more on, like, you end with Phase 1 the way they ended it. I'm like, and then you're going to make me wait a couple of years to get back to that story and tell all these new stories about other things that really somewhat aren't connected or tangentially connected, perhaps. Now that I know the ending, I can go, okay, I can take this for what it is. And I'm definitely enjoying it a little bit more this time around. But I'm excited about the High Republic. Ending, it was I thought it was a great ending with Trials of the Jedi. I think the comics had a great run as well. Some stories are better than others, and that's always going to happen with these big initiatives. But overall, I gave it a big thumbs up. But you'll hear me talk about that more because that is our next episode. Our next episode of Holy Snokes in 2 weeks will be Maddie and I getting together and just kind of recapping the High Republic now that it's over, talking about our favorite bits and pieces and our favorite stories and our favorite characters, and maybe think where we're going to go from there, because that was one of the announcements that was not an announcement. I shouldn't say it wasn't the announcement, but Michael Siglane, who was the overall architect, getting the authors together as far as Project Luminous goes. He said that we are finishing up with the High Republic initiative, but we are not finished up with the High Republic era. So we're getting more stories from the High Republic era. Fortunately, we didn't get any announcements on that. That's when they opened up the panel that way, I was like, oh, cool. So maybe at the end we would get like a tease of, if not the next initiative release, we'd get something like, oh, here's the next Ty York novel or Vernestra novel or something like that to kind of connect those in together. But they are forthcoming, and we'll get them sooner than later, I'm sure, at some point. But what else did we get? That's the big thing. Young Jedi Adventures, speaking of the High Republic, is getting another issue, another collection, including a new story in that. That's for the youngest of our Padawans, the younglings out there. The younglings should enjoy this for sure. I gotta say, the Young Jedi Adventures as a whole, I watched them because it's Star Wars. I went through it, and obviously it's for preschoolers, and so you gotta set your sights on that, as it were. But considering the audience, there were actually some kind of actually fun lore bits in there. It's not something I'll ever rewatch probably, but I was glad to have watched it once through. Some more, I wouldn't say adult things, but things that you can get. Star Wars is kind of a universal thing. That some of the themes and everything are universal for adults and kids, and you just told them more childlike fashion. That's not a big deal. But yeah, so this is another Young Jedi Adventures continuing with that way. Obviously, season 3 is coming out at some point. Getting the Art of the Acolyte. That's what we're getting in January 13th, 2026. The Art of the High Republic 2 is coming out soon. I can't wait for that. I finally got the Art of the High Republic 1. I've been kind of leafing through that recently, and it's a great book, wonderful book. Now that I'm complete, I'm going back and looking at all this stuff with the knowledge of how the story goes is really kind of cool. The Art of the Acolyte coming January 13th, 2026. We did get some images from that. I will say the only negative I have about this is January 13th, 2026. The show was in 2024. I believe, right? It's been a year since the Acolyte, I believe. That's just too long in between. Like, these are the kind of things that I don't know what Lucasfilm is thinking about this stuff, but like these kind of things should be out are planned and put out like not before, but like around like they should be ready to go when the series drops. This should be ready to go. This should have come out like Acolyte came out in the summer. This should have come out in like the fall. Or even like after the last episode dropped. Okay, next week this comes out like strike while the iron's hot. Like the Acolyte, especially the Acolyte, unfortunately, given the divisiveness of it and how it's kind of been like, unfortunately, not talked about as much in the social media anymore, or at least not talked about positively. It seems like only the haters talk about it nowadays. There's a few people out there who still staunchly defend it, and that's great. I am one who enjoyed it. It's not my favorite Star Wars series. I think there's definitely a lot of flaws with it, but I think it's well overhated. I'm definitely going to get this book because there's a lot of cool stuff in it, I'm sure. So that's just my 2 cents. I hope they would start doing a little bit more like timely with the releases of these initiatives. So I love these books. They're very fun books to read. Next up, a horror Star Wars comic. That's right up my alley. You know, me and PJ at 2 Elite Geeks on Film, we love our horror. So getting me more horror in Star Wars, I'm all for it. Tales from the Nightland from author Kevin Scott and Dark Horse Comics, introducing fans to the Nightlander, a Star Wars boogeyman designed by legendary concept artist Ian McCaig that seeks to possess a living host and bring misery and despair to the galaxy. That's coming out, the first issue coming out September 5th of this year. So that's going to be exciting. I do like that. Additionally, stories coming. We got in July 30th, 2025. That's another time, same time as the High Republic finale. The first issue of hyperspace story Tides of Terror, written by George Mann, who wrote some great High Republic stuff. And it's a Kit Fisto storyline. Kit Fisto exploring a distant ocean planet and fending off fierce beasts that swim in its depth. I love Kit Fisto. Give me more Kit Fisto. That's great. I think we should go back. We went to the Clone Wars for so long. We kind of got out of the Clone Wars era into more of like the between 3 and 4 era. Now it always feels nice to go back to the Clone Wars every once in a while. So that's a lot of fun for there. Speaking of going back to the Clone Wars next year, an 88-page original graphic novel in early 2026, Hyperspace Stories Grievous from author Michael Morrissey and Dark Horse follows Separatist mastermind General Grievous as he stomps a Jedi Knight and his battalion of clone troopers on the jungle planet of Katu. A lot of fun there as well. I'm always good for more Grievous stories, some more Clone Wars stories. What else we got here? Got a couple other ones that came out. Behind the scenes fans getting a look at the ILM 50th anniversary book. That looks beautiful. If you're a fan of ILM, and I don't know how you could not be a fan of ILM because they pretty much do every movie that you ever loved, as far as that goes. I can't wait to read this. I still haven't watched the documentary series, but I'm trying to find time to watch that. I do want to watch that. That's going to be fun as well. Also, more Mandalorian Grogu movie coming out next May. DK Books is bringing back the Star Wars The Mandalorian visual guide. A closer look at seasons 1 through 3 of the beloved Disney series, written by Lucasfilm's Pablo Hidalgo. Now, this was initially announced a while ago, and it was canceled or postponed. I don't remember necessarily, but it looks like they're bringing it back for the movie. You know what? That's timely enough. At least it's going out at the same time as the movie. Sure, this should have been out back at the end of season 3, but it's a nice little way to look at it and get ready for the movie. So I can go with this. I love the visual guides as well. Pablo always knocks those out of the park. That's fun. What else we got? Another cool storyline going back to the Clone Wars. We're getting a Bad Batch comic series again. Another Bad Batch run. This one called Hyperspace Stories, The Bad Batch Rogue Agents, written by Michael Morrissey. And it is a Clone Force 99 storyline taking place in the Clone Wars, dealing with a Separatist issue. I like this as well. Getting more Bad Batch is always good. I really loved the Bad Batch show. It was one of my favorite things Disney Star Wars has done. It was just a beautiful story, wonderfully told. And we had the Star Wars Bad Batch comic that just finished, which is great. Sanctuary, the Bad Batch novel coming out, which takes place during the Bad Batch series. Basically an unused, I don't think it's an unused arc as in like what Dark Disciple was to Clone Wars, but it feels like an unused arc. It's kind of, supposedly from what I've heard from people who have read it, it slots in really well with I believe it's season 2, and get some more tech and fee together. That's coming out soon. They got some issue. They had a preview of that at the Comic-Con as well. That's coming out shortly. I can't see be a fun one to read as well. It's a new series coming out in December 2025. So that should be fun. A lot more comic reveals were done. That was kind of cool throughout. I don't want some from Dr. Aphra, from the main Star Wars title. We got some stuff from Legacy of Vader, hinting that Luke Skywalker is going to make an appearance soon. That's cool. Are we going to get Force Ghost Luke, or is it going to be flashback Luke? I don't know. Going to be interesting to talk about that for sure, what happens. Got some more talk about the Star Wars Revenge of the Sith and not anthology, the annotated version that's coming out in October, I believe it is. I am excited about that. Over 150 author annotations of one of the best, probably the best adaptation of the films we have. So good. Matthew Stover, beautiful story, wonderfully done. It expands on Revenge of the Sith so well. So I'm looking forward to it. And anthology books are very fun to read. I said it again, anthology books, annotated books are very interesting to read. We did get a big news update. The second episode, or second installment, I should say, of the Reign of the Empire trilogy was talked about. Rebecca Roanhorse, who wrote Resistance Reborn, is releasing Edge of the Abyss, and that will be released in the fall of 2026. Now, I can't lie, I'm a little disappointed. I believe the initial release plan was we did spring this year, spring in 2026, spring of 2027. Those would be the 3 dates. So now we're pushing this one back. If it needs to be pushed back, you know what? I mean, it is what it is. It has to be done. I get it. I was looking forward to reading this next spring. I'll have to wait a little bit later. That's fine. This is actually going to be taking place 1 year before the events of Andor Season 1, and it might even feature some characters from the series. I mean, obviously, Mon Mothma was in the first one, so I'm sure she's going to be in it again. As she's one of the big 3 that they are telling the story from. But other people involved too. I don't know who that might be. Will it be Andor himself? I don't know if we get to see Andor previously. I don't know if that would make sense. But some of the other ones, potentially Luthen could perhaps make an appearance, I would think. Potentially a lot of people could make an appearance. So we'll have to see where that goes for sure. I'm excited about that. They did announce that the summer of 2027, Fran Wild will bring the saga to an end with From the Ashes. And finally, the last announcement we will talk about is there is another new book coming out, and that is going to be an Outlaws-related book. February 3rd, 2026, Mike Chen, who wrote the Brotherhood book, which is a great book, is releasing Star Wars Outlaws Low Red Moon, a prequel to Star Wars Outlaws, which features the origin story of Jalen Virax and ND5. Now, I've not played Outlaws. I don't know. I will eventually. I'm getting my Sunny Steam Deck soon, or we're going to pitch in and get one together. I'm going to play a lot of Star Wars games as I go through my canon read through, watch through, and Legends read through and watch through. So I'm going to play a lot of the games as it comes on. So I get to Outlaws, I might give it a shot at that point. We'll go from there. But this is a prequel novel. They usually have these tied into the game. Survivor, Jedi Survivor had it. Fallen Order had one. I'm interested to say this. The interesting part about this is supposedly it's POV from the droid from ND5. It's the first of its kind, I believe, in the Star Wars universe. There might have been a short story or so, but a full novel from the perspective of a droid. Interesting. I'm not sold on it necessarily being a good idea, but it's intriguing, and I'm looking forward to seeing if Mike can pull it off and how that goes. So I'll tell you the synopsis they had. ND5 and Jalen Virax embark on their descent into the galaxy's underworld to search for answers and opportunity in this essential prequel to Star Wars Outlaws. Jalen Barsha, heir to his family's immense power and wealth, had his life charted out for him neatly and meticulously by his parents, even though he suspected his neglected half-brother's Slero would be better fit for the bright corporate future his parents envisioned. And the Empire stripped it all away on trumped-up charges of conspiracy against his family. Before he can reach Slero for help redeeming the Barsha name, the battle droid arrives at the family compound with the mission to kill every single last member of the Barsha clan. Jalen manages to fend off the attack as a sole survivor, but realizes the droid, who he reprograms, is his only chance to stay alive. They can no longer be Jalen Barsha. He'll have to live now as Jalen Virax. Former Separatist battle droid ND5 knows he should be scrap metal, all things considered. He was a proficient contributor to the Separatist cause, but what is a soldier without a war? A trigger without aim? Loyalty is in his programming, and Jalen, who treats him as more than just a weapon, has earned it. Perhaps the droid thinks with a partner he can be more. ND5 just has to earn Jalen's trust. The threat against the Barsha clan is still shrouded in mystery. The pair has no choice but to leverage the chaos and disappear. They find sanctuary in the anonymity of the underworld, building their reputation among scoundrels, bounty hunters, and crime syndicates. And their latest score gives the first real clue in years to who sent ND5 after Jalen's family. Their biggest opportunity now presents a new kind of risk. Do they give up this chance at the wealth and power Jalen was denied for pursue answers, or will ambition and the weight of the past shatter their likely partnership? Well, there you go, folks. I haven't played the game, so I don't know much about the characters, but I am always intrigued to read a new storyline, especially in the Underworld saga. A lot of things you can do there for sure. And yeah, that's it. That's news. I've caught up on the news finally. There we are. We are done with all the news bit as fit to talk about. And I'll be back with another news episode in 1 month. We'll catch up then. Of course, next 2 weeks, I'll be back with Maddie Gunner back, and we're going to be talking about the High Republic. That should be a lot of fun as well. If you did like this video, hit that like, subscribe, you leave me a comment, all that kind of stuff. Share us. Let's get this thing going. I have a couple other shows on this channel you might be interested in. Me and PJ Campbell do 2 Middle-Aged Geeks on Film. I do a show called Review with Lego, which I do want to actually address now. We've been a little bit behind on our thing. We had a review of Jason where we covered Independence Day. A lot of fun there. Myself and Lego are set to cover the Big Finish audio that came out last year with the new episodes installments coming out this month. So when we get to it, hopefully we'll just go do a run through of all 6 parts at that point, because we love that V saga, and we'll go back to our adjacent stuff as well, doing Watchers 2, and we're doing the V comics and books as well. Lego has had some real life happen. This is why we have postponed. We actually were supposed to record last week. It didn't work out. I'm hopefully going to reschedule and recalibrate in a week or 2, maybe 2 weeks from now. I'll keep you updated as soon as I know more, but we will get back. I'm back for that for sure. I also do Class Action. Which is a show we put up 2 movies up against each other. This month's version will be, or I should say August month version. At the end of the month, we're going to be putting up Superman 2025 versus Fantastic Four: The First Steps. That should be a lot of fun to talk about for sure. And of course, on my sister channel, Crown Jewels, I do my Queen podcast every week, doing an episode. We are finishing up the Roger Taylor Fun and Space album, which has not gotten a lot of views, I'm not going to lie. So we're getting back to Queen proper in a few weeks when we tackle the Divisive Hot Space album, and we'll go on from there. That's it. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/PLD Projects. I have a YouTube membership. You can join. You can get early editions of the Crown Jewels, early editions of Review most of the time. Sometimes you get early editions of 2 Middle-Aged Geeks, but mostly you get the 2 Middle-Aged Geeks exclusive reviews of the MCU rewatch we're doing. Every other week we're doing an episode for the channel, and then the other week is the Patreon exclusive, member exclusive MCU rewatch. Just recorded Captain America Winter Soldier. That should be out soon. Looking forward to continuing that journey as well. And on the regular 2 Middle-Aged Geeks on Film, we're back on Tuesday with Ghostbusters, the new episode in our new season. Ghostbusters and Men in Black, our crossover franchise. We're going to have go through the entirety of both franchises in one series. It should be a lot of fun. I can't wait to talk about those for sure. But that'll do it for us here, folks. We will see you next time here on Holy Snokes, and hopefully before and on our other shows. That's it. May the Force be with you guys. Take care.
May the Force be with you always.